there's a perception around indirect or direct reuse that might, be a lesser of a product, but ultimately it's educating the public on really what we do as professionals and operations to treat safe drinking water, and ultimately utilizing the technology to get it to a product that meets the regulations. So.
Hey everyone, it's Bob Crossan. I'm the editorial director for Wastewater Digest. I'm joined today by Marisa Vergara. She is regional director for STV, and we're going to be talking about potable reuse in Texas. But first, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and what we want to what my question was to you when we started talking about having this interview was, California approved its potable reuse rules at last year, back in December. My question is, how has that influenced the way that Texas is looking at its potable reuse rules? Because I'm sure that that's a big influential moment for you all.
Yeah, thank you for asking. No, it's actually really exciting. I think California has done a great job of paving the way for industry and regulation, and has really done a lot of investigations and analysis as it relates to improving technology, which is a benefit to all of our water industry throughout the nation. Texas is, been very active due to our climate region, in also promoting and moving forward technology for direct and indirect reuse. And so, but there's a lot of drivers that, that kind of get into that process as it relates to regulation and testing. And so California has been really a benefit to us all in the advancements that they've made.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, like you said, very big advancements. It's really kind of paving the way and creating the path for everyone else to follow. But when it comes to potable reuse, what do you see currently as kind of the biggest barriers toward advancing in that direction? And does it differ from region or state by state?
I think it definitely varies. So there's not a cohesive message throughout the nation. Climate, varying climate from place to place is a big driver as to relates to the need for the resource. Also, it's very dependent on state regulations. So not only do we have federal regulations, but we
Mm,
have state regulations to consider. And and there's also an education component, right? An education component to the public as to making sure as an industry that we're building confidence in the product that we're providing our communities. And there's been some, press as it relates to not necessarily being, uh, you know, I guess being a little bit wary as to
mm,
what the safety is of the water systems. And so there's a perception around indirect or direct reuse that might, be a lesser of a product, but ultimately it's educating the public on really what we do as professionals and operations to treat safe drinking water, and ultimately utilizing the technology to get it to a product that meets the regulations. So,
mhm.
so there's several. There's also another barrier as it relates to financial. So,
Oh.
communities vary from financial situations, and so it's going to really be heavily dependent on, how high their need is and their ability to meet the financial commitments to operating these systems.
Yeah, that's a good point because the barrier you mentioned the education part. It sounds like that's like the common barrier that everyone talks about is like, oh, we have to get this public buy-in. That's actually really hard, especially given some less than perfect messaging over the years about clean about reused water. But yeah, the financial portion of that is quite interesting too because it does require some advanced treatment that not every community can necessarily afford to do, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities, both from federal and state funding, that communities can really leverage. And that is something that we help our clients in meeting those solutions, dependent on how motivated they are to meet the need for the water demand. You can make things happen. And so there
Hmm.
is a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of current focus on infrastructure funding, which I think helps benefit that. And the technology and regulations are all coming to a point where that can become a reality, and it's innovative. And a lot of these strategies are looking for innovative solutions to meet the public community's demands.
Yeah. So bouncing back to that education part of it, how do you feel that like the industry itself can better communicate the effectiveness of these types of reuse technologies so the general public better understands them and is more like, I guess, makes it more palpable for them to realize how good the technology is now and how incredibly crucial it's going to be for the long-term future of water resources?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways. I know that a lot of our industry, whether it be American Waterworks associations or other industries, are really doing a lot of outreach, both at the high school and work trade level to get the word out about the industry so that people are understanding more about where and how their water comes from and the professionals behind getting that. Um, there's a lot of innovative and creative ways where, some cities are partnering up with, beer manufacturers and others to be able to utilize that type of product. And there's also just an inherent education on how precious the resource is. And
Mhm.
we experienced it here when we had a winter storm Uri, and some of our communities went days and days without water, and everything halts, whether it be just in your home functioning every day to, your restaurants and other industries. And so once that precious resource is impacted, people become very aware. And so, utilizing those unfortunate opportunities to better educate the public on what it takes to safely run and have resilient water systems. I know that's been a focus in the state of Texas, and the state of Texas is very committed to making sure we have safe and reliable and resilient water, but also recognizing that resource is important for the economics of growing communities, and that options, having resiliency and redundancy of systems is important, and drought proof is something that's very important to communities. And so having alternative strategies and having backup systems and having enough yield in their systems is I think citizens are starting to better understand really not only the safety, health and safety issue, which is always first and foremost, but the economic impacts on our businesses and our communities.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about this through the lens of Texas too. There is just such an incredible amount of population growth. So when you're talking about water resources, I think people really realize how strapped some communities really feel when it comes to finding and using water resources. Heck, there's the new project, right? To help out a bunch of that state. So yeah, I think those types of pressures where they start to recognize just how valuable water has become as a resource, especially out west. I think down in Texas is the same way. It seems like
Yeah.
there's a lot of societal a shift in that way.
Also, I think some of the projects we've seen throughout the nation is putting in public visiting areas at the treatment facilities
Oh yeah.
where there can be tours of young students and other community members. That's been really beneficial to be able to show the actual product in an environment where they can learn and see the final product from beginning to end, and just integrating into the school systems and really, going out and doing outreach as it relates to how the treatment occurs,
Mhm.
and really, what the safety factors are put into the treatment designs.
Yeah, and it may double even as like a workforce development tool for the
Yes,
long
which is
term when
very
you think
needed.
about it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Marisa. I really appreciate you taking the time with me and talking about potable reuse in Texas. I do feel like I've learned quite a bit, and I'm excited to see where potable reuse goes in Texas. So I'm looking forward to our next conversation on it.
Yeah, no, great, great. Yeah, no, there's a lot of opportunities, even regulatory driven, requirements in Florida,
Mhm.
and reuse is going to become very required as it relates to discharge. And so I think there's various areas throughout the United States that are going to be really utilizing this opportunity and benefiting from it as a society.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
for anyone else who's watching, you can check out our video description below. We'll have some links to some potable reuse things, especially the California potable reuse rules down there. So, the once more to Marisa, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. So nice to talk with you.